So one of the things that I think is really important, but it is rarely discussed, I think, especially in community building, is the question of what people can reasonably expect when it comes to traffic or when it comes to people coming to events or any of that. And I'd love for you guys to talk about that a bit. I definitely had different authors. I've had authors who were like really excited that 5 people bought their book at a bookstore, and others who would be really disappointed that it wasn't 100 people buying that book. So I'm just curious what you guys, if you have a perspective on traffic, whether it's online or even for events.
I would answer that, I guess, by saying that I don't really, I guess I don't care, honestly. I don't care what traffic I get. And I want to share that with you because I don't think, and I think a lot of what Stacy has said reinforces what I mean, is that you should make sure that you should do what you're into doing. And it's very easy to get caught up in what's my traffic, and while it's important to know what works, I think it's more important to know what you're doing and to actually make that the best thing that you can. When I started Quiet Lightning, which is a submission-based reading series, we get all these submissions every month, and one of the things we do is we would respond to each submission personally, right? Instead of sending out a form letter. And this is one of the reasons that a lot of people were interested in it, was because we were actually taking the work, as seriously as we could, and it meant a lot to let people know, what the series was and why their work did or did not fit in it, And another aspect of that really worked for Quiet Lightning was the fact that, we have maybe average 12 or 13 readers at a show. And so these readers would tell their friends and their own personal built-in communities. And at every month, I don't even know half the authors that are accepted because it's a blind submission process, and we accept different authors every month. And so every month, our actual audience it varies wildly. And one, it helps that we go to a different venue every month. So some months we're in a bookstore, some months we're in a nightclub, and so the actual feel of the event is different and probably attracts kind of a different demographic. And because the basic idea is the same, every month there's definitely a contingency that goes to the show every month, no matter where it is, right? So that's one thing that helps, I think, is that making your content, so to speak, or your project as open to as many people as possible. One of the frameworks for starting the show was there's only 2 rules, you don't get more than 8 minutes, and you have to commit to the date to submit. But beyond that, we'll feature a blog post, we'll feature something that you wrote on a bar napkin, we'll feature a novel excerpt. It doesn't matter. We just like writing, so send it in. And because of that, we get a very wide spectrum of people who want to participate. It's open, So I would say to focus more on your content and what you're doing, and to optimize it that way, personally.
Oh, it's on now. Okay. So we're going to open it up to Q&A. Does anybody have any questions for anybody on the panel? Samantha, way in the back.
Hi. So my question to you is, Evan just said it's important to be really open in your community, but do you ever set rules for your community? Do you ever ask people not to participate in your community? And what do you do when people might not be respecting the tone of the community? How do you handle that?
Question. Oh, yeah, I guess. I mean,
I don't know.
Does anybody have something specific to say? I can talk forever.
Yeah, I think just briefly, it's an interesting question, and honestly, it's not really an issue. People are very respectful and excited and psyched, and there's lots of love for City Lights. And if it comes up, there are ways to, I've only seen it on Facebook, really. You can block a user and they don't know that they've been blocked, and then you don't have to have a kind of anything confrontational, but for us so far, it hasn't really been an issue.
I would say the main thing is I'm just always transparent, even if it looks bad or might be perceived as something bad. Like maybe I made a bad decision, and somebody has called me out on it, or even if somebody's just being totally crazy and it's obvious, I still everybody's crazy sometimes. I'll say that, right? And so I mean, you want to handle it in a way that shows people what's important to you, and so in a way you want to. I'm always public about this. If anybody has a problem or a comment, I try to be as transparent as possible, and that goes along with the whole idea of being personable. I think it lets people know that you're not sure, Quiet Lightning is a nonprofit organization. It's an organization and all that, but I mean it's the people who are doing something they believe in, and so if you make that apparent in everything that you do, I think people. The public who may or may not know the separate parties, anybody who comes across that will take that from it, is that it's that you're trying to be inclusive and that you're trying to let people participate, right? And that you even welcome the craziness, which is something actually that I wanted to say a little bit. I think in response to something you guys were saying is that doing Facebook. And also commenting on other people's blogs. I think Facebook specifically is good for me because I can kind of be a little bit crazier on Facebook. Like I get a lot of conversations about my posts on Facebook, and the conversations may or may not have to do with the content itself, but they take place kind of next to the content, or next to the. It's like two simultaneous conversations, if you will. So people respond to the post about the post, and I think that I can just throw out some random phrase, sometimes even if it doesn't have to do with the content itself. Then I'll start a big conversation, just because I can say something kind of off the wall, and people can respond to that quickly. Yeah, it was in response to the idea of having to craft a response and not having time to do that. With Facebook, I have no expectations, and I don't think other people do either a lot of the time, that you're going to sit there and spend an hour crafting a comment on somebody's post about a post on Facebook. You can just kind of say something random, and it gets people talking, and I do like that, and I also think it's important, obviously, to be transparent on social media also, and so I think those go hand in hand.